going on, everybody? Welcome to another podcast episode, the Civil Engineering Academy podcast. Isaac Okeson here, the owner of Civil Engineering Academy. I'm excited to share with you another awesome podcast episode. Today, I interview Scott Wible. He owns his own engineering firm doing structural engineering, and I wanted to talk to him, bring him on, and talk about his adventures into becoming a solo entrepreneur, working for himself as a structural engineer, and get all the ins and outs of that, and finding out his whole career path and why he started his own engineering firm. I think you're really going to enjoy this. If you've ever had an inkling to set your goal on your sight to become your own boss, your own entrepreneur, do your own work, set your own billable rates, this is probably the episode for you. I think Scott could be a great mentor to answer any questions about that, so I wanted to bring him on and just have an open conversation about that. But he is a professional engineer. He's also a structural engineer, so he's passed his PE and his SE to become a structural engineer. And so we talk about that a little bit as well, and the difficulty of those exams and kind of the benefits of those, passing those as well. So anyway, it's a really fun episode. Check it out. It's going to be coming up right after this in just a second. Hey, I wanted to jump on real quick and let you know about a free resource we developed for you. You can find it at civilengineeringacademy.com/PE guide, and this will help you to jumpstart your studies for your PE exam. So if you're in the hunt and you're just thinking about the PE exam, this guide will help you get through the process of figuring out everything you need to do, from the PE exam's prerequisites that you got to figure out, the must-have materials that you're going to need for the exam, any approved calculators, what groups you should join, exam secrets, and much more. It's all in this guide that we've got developed for you. It's completely free. You can go check it out at civilengineeringacademy.com/PE guide. Just put in your email. We'll get you that information as soon as the email comes to your inbox. So go check it out, civilengineeringacademy.com/PE guide. All right, we are live and rolling. Scott, thank you for joining me on the Civil Engineering Academy podcast. I appreciate you jumping on doing this with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk with you. I feel like you've been doing like the podcast circuit or something, and we wanted to bring you on the show and kind of talk about what you do, how you do it, and kind of the nuances of things that you've got going on in your life. But I guess to start out, though, I always love asking, how you found yourself into this world of civil engineering. And for you specifically, you dove into structural engineering. So why that route? How did you end up here?
Sure. Yeah. So I've always been pretty good at math, and I always kept up with it throughout school and all throughout high school, all throughout, the early years of college, just math. And so I always kind of thought I was going to be an engineer one day. And my dad's a civil engineer, and my grandpa is an aeronautical engineer. So there's just a lot of engineers in my family. So I always kind of thought I'd be an engineer one day. But at the same time, I have a few family members that were involved in business, and I noticed that they actually kind of did a better for their families and were able to do cooler things, maybe cooler vacations, or, I saw the business side of my family and thinking like, wow, that they're really pulling some stuff off. Like, that's really cool. So I was torn, which way do I want to go college? And I remember thinking, well, okay, business or engineering, which one? And my thought was, if I went into business, I'd never really be able to transition into engineering. But if I went for engineering, that one day, maybe I could transition into business. So I already kind of had it in the back of my head. Like, okay, like I still want to go into business one day, but I'm going to do the engineering thing because I really like doing mathematics and I think I'll be successful at it. So that's kind of how it started. And then in college, once I made that decision, I'd actually realized that I was a bit behind on the courses that I needed to transfer in. I did community college first. In order to transfer into the university, I had to have all these high-level classes, statics, dynamics, mechanics, materials. So I didn't have the prerequisites for it. So I ended up taking statics at the same time as physics 1. And I was like 18 years old. I didn't really know that level of mathematics yet. And so it was really, really challenging.
Rough.
But the professor, it was rough, but the professor was pretty patient with me, and he kind of encouraged me to stick with it. And I really liked that class. Statics was really, really cool for me. And I loved it and did really well in the class. So from then on, I was like, okay, I think structural engineering is my path. I'm really going for that. So, I transferred into the university, started going on the structural engineering path. And right around that time, my cousin actually reached out to me during a family event. He walked up to me and said, "Hey, Scott, I see you're doing college for structural engineering. I don't know if you know, but I'm a structural engineer." Like, "Oh, that's so cool. Awesome." He's like, "Yeah, I actually have my own structural engineering company." And he said, if I was you, I'd be asking me a lot of questions right now. Like, you should be hounding me. He was kind of telling me like, "Hello, I'm right here." Like, you know what I mean? Reach out. So he offered basically to be my mentor um, pretty early on, and that was super helpful. I went over to his house, and he showed me his office, and I had some pointed questions. I was like, "Well, what did you do today? Like, show me what your day looks like." So he showed me some work he was doing. I thought it was really cool, and so I just had in my mind like, this is what I want to do. So one of these books by Tony Robbins, I think, talks about how you don't have to really reinvent the wheel if you want to be successful. You just need to find somebody that is where you want to be and replicate what they're doing. And I actually hadn't read that book at the time, but that's ended up being what happened. I saw him. He had a structural engineering company, and he had his PE license. He had his SE license. He was making good money, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. So I just replicated it, basically. And he was giving me advice along the way, work here, get this experience, get this license. And, step by step, he kind of told me how to get to where he was. And it was pretty a clear path for me, because like I just knew where I wanted to go, and I knew how to get there. And all I had to do is take the right actions. And there was kind of no mystery of like, oh, how could I possibly do this one day? It's like I pretty much knew exactly what to do. So I just kept at it for a long time, and it took years, 6 years of work experience before I could take the SE exam, and, years of college. So it was a long journey, but, I was always headed in the same direction the whole time. So each step I took me one step closer to having my own company. And sure enough, just 2 years ago, I finally made the jump and started my company. It's working out really well.
That's amazing. Well, I think you've hit on a couple things there, like the importance of finding a mentor or like a person you want to emulate and trying to find someone you could do that and connecting with them. I think that's important. I think it was nice that you had there was no fear in terms of like going on your own, because you kind of had this blueprint already built right in front of you, which is awesome. So was it, I guess, fast forward to today, let's talk a little bit about this. So you mentioned that you did work as a structural engineer for a company, and now you've transitioned and owning your own business. What did you learn, I guess, what skills or what did you learn from working for a company? And then how did you gain the courage to still start your business, even though you had a mentor and an example? Like, was that a challenge for you?
Yeah. So at the company, I was pretty blessed because there was a lot of experienced engineers all around me, really, really talented people who were patient. They would answer questions. And, I did have to reach out and make sure to get that training. If I had an issue, I had to go find somebody. And I was pretty deliberate with who I would reach out to get training from. Probably the best guy at the company was the principal in charge, this guy, Blaze Bresco. And he's just such a I don't know, high level engineer. He knows everything. The firm had 50 engineers on various projects, very large commercial buildings, all the way down to like custom multi-million-dollar homes. And he saw it all, stamped it all, was responsible for it all. And so this guy, he knew everything about everything there is to know about structural engineering. So really, if I ever had a question, he had an answer. And not only did I have that resource, I also was sitting next to this guy, Sean Johnson, who ended up becoming the technical lead at the company, which was he was a straight genius. Really knew the code. He knew the mathematics behind it. He knew all the theories. Just ultra genius. So he gave me a lot of help as well. And just being around people like that, I was picking up skills really quickly. And I knew that I only had a short period of time in the office to learn as much as possible. So I was very proactive towards, if there was something that I was weak on, I would work on it. I would request a job that had that particular type of problem. And so I was just really trying to learn as much as possible. I was looking at drawings, making sure I understood every piece of it. And I knew I needed I knew the level I needed to get to, and the people around me were at that level. And so I just kept working and working until I got there. And so that was how I was developing my skill set, like my technical skills. You have to work really hard over time, and you're doing that anyway at your job. Like, you have to work on your technical skills constantly to improve and to know how to do the work correctly. So beyond the technical skills, I was also working to pick up clients, because I knew, like, one day when I started my company, I would need a book of clients in order to, you can't just start a company and wait for the phone to ring or say, oh, I'm just going to start attending events and hopefully meet somebody. Like, you kind of need that network built up in advance. So I was learning the technical skills, but I was also working on networking and getting clients. And I was also reading a lot of books about organization, about communicating, the soft skills, leadership skills, all that. I mean, I've got a huge library full of books just to help with business. So it's kind of
Right
like
on that shelf behind you.
Yeah, right. So I've got a couple here. There's the 4-Hour Workweek. That's a really good book. How to Win Friends, Influence People. Another really, really good book. So yeah, I've read a lot of books. Maybe too many, more than I needed to, but they're good reads, and it's all being used now. So yeah, that's kind of. I sort of knew I had to pick up the skills. I had to develop a network, and I had a short amount of time to do it. So I just, I focused on it.
Wow, that's so cool. What kind of obstacles or challenges have you faced starting basically your own business?
Yeah, because I had done all the work ahead of time, it wasn't as challenging as you'd think. It was because I mean, obviously getting your license is difficult. The PE exam is, challenging, but the SE exam was extremely hard. I think when I took it, the lateral exam, that portion, but I don't know if your listeners know, but the SE exam is 2 8-hour exam days. So you take one Friday for 8 hours, you do a 4-hour test, an hour break, then another 4-hour test. Then the next morning you come back, do another 4 hours, hour break, 4 hours. So it's 16 hours of testing within a 2-day period. And the pass rate for the lateral exam was 24%. So it's, less than 1 in 4 people walking in there. And these are all experienced structural engineers. They all have more than 6 years experience. They all have 5 structural engineers who have basically vouched for them, said, oh, yeah, they are allowed to take this exam. So they had the references, and they've all studied hundreds of hours. So out of this extremely talented group of candidates, only 1 in 4 actually pass. So that was a huge challenge. And I wasn't willing to start my company until I passed that exam. So luckily I passed it the first try. So, that was it's a blessing.
And did you do buildings or bridges, or?
I did buildings.
You did buildings. What, I guess just kind of honing in on that a little bit, because we do have a lot of listeners that do take the structural PE with the hopes of getting an SE down the road. What would you have any tips for someone preparing for the SE?
Yeah, there's you have to do your work for sure. For the SE exam, there's the gravity section and the lateral section. Of the two, most people can pass the gravity section. I think the pass rates are usually close to 50%. The lateral is the more challenging one. So it just depends on how much time you have available to study, but you're really going to have to give it your full effort. It's challenging. I recommend taking a preparation course. I did the PPI one, and that was pretty good, but not nearly sufficient. So you have to do a lot of study outside of it. And I would find these courses, as they're good, but they'll really only help you for the multiple choice part of it. For the depth sections, I found with structural engineers, most people who fail the exam, they don't fail on the multiple choice. They fail on the long form answers. So the second half of the day, they're essay style, and you've got 4 problems, and each one you have an hour to solve it basically. And if you have to get either all of them passed or needs improvement. So that's the 3 grades: passed, needs improvement, or fail. And if you fail any one of so there's 2 sections. There's the gravity, the lateral, and there's 4 problems on each. So that's 8 problems. If you fail any one of those 8 problems, your whole exam is thrown out. So that's how everybody fails, is they fail one of the 8 problems. And so you just have to be good enough to not fail any of those problems. You can get a needs improvement, but you cannot fail. So that most people don't study very much for those long form problems. And I think that's where structural engineers with a lot of experience in the office kind of have an advantage, because that's kind of what they do for work, is those long form type problems. So yeah, it's a hard exam. Yeah, it is crazy.
Drummed up more questions in my head. One of them is, I know that the SE is being geared towards the CBT exam and getting, being removed from the paper-based stuff. So I know I've read things on where that's headed, but just curious your thoughts on when it makes that switch. Do you feel like it will be an easier exam or a harder exam when it makes that switch?
I don't know. People say it's going to be harder, but I have a hard time believing that. I feel like, of the computer-based exams, I took the FE on a computer-based exam, and it was like searchable. You can control F, find the right equations. So I feel like that would be an advantage for a lot of the multiple choice questions. It just depends on how hard they make it. I don't know. I think it might be easier, but everybody else says it would be harder. So I don't know.
Okay. Just curious your thoughts. Well, it sounds awesome. You've achieved a certain level of success already. You've started your own business. What are some attributes you feel like are necessary to achieve, I guess, kind of that level of success? What are some attributes you think would be good for somebody to have?
Yeah, so you need to have a goal-based mindset. Like, you need to know what you want and you have to go after it. Some people go throughout life and I feel like they only take the opportunities that are right in front of their nose, and they see like, well, I'm in this office and this person is here and they're telling me I should do this. A lot of people are short-sighted with the opportunities that they take. And I think that people should maybe think bigger and have bigger goals, and try and think about things that are outside of their immediate circle of awareness. Like, it's hard to do that on your own. That's why mentors are so valuable, because they can see further than you, and they can give you the advice like, oh no, you could actually have this goal, this bigger goal, and you can make that happen. So yeah, attributes, you've got to, I think, have a thirst for knowledge. You want to learn and grow. And really, for my field, if you want to be a structural engineer, you have to be really good at your job, and you have to have a lot of skills and talent. And you can't make a mistake. If a structure fails, right? People could die, lose your insurance. It's terrible. So you can't make a mistake. You have to be so good at what you do that you can do it 100, 1,000 times and not ever make a mistake. So that's it. You have to have a strong sense of ethics. Like, if something is really over your head, you have to say no. You can't work on jobs that you're not experienced in. And you have to be good with people. You have to kind of be a little outgoing, a little bit willing to talk to people and negotiate with clients. You have to kind of like know your worth. A lot of times clients,
that's true,
they want to pay less, or they think that something is going to cost $2,000, and you have to say, no, it's $5,000. And that's what my time's worth. It's going to take me this long, and this is my billing rate. You kind of have to have that self-confidence of like, your time is worth something, and you're adding significantly more value to them than they're giving you in cash. So
very true.
Having that confidence, knowing what you're worth, negotiating, and it's just, you have to work really hard, disciplined. Yeah, you got to want it. You got to be motivated. So, for example, a lot of people on this podcast are probably thinking like, oh, I really want a PE exam. Maybe that's my goal. But I would encourage you to have a bigger goal. I want the PE to be like a ladder step. I want it to be something that gets you to where you really want to go, whether that's a better job, a higher paying job, a better role, maybe a leadership role, whatever that is. I think it should be like rocket fuel for you. I don't think it should be the end goal. And I hear a lot of people saying, oh, like, the PE is the end all be all. Like once I have it set, and I disagree. I think like that is really just something that's going to push you much further than you could go without it, right? So use it to achieve a bigger goal. So
I totally agree. It should be the springboard
yes.
to really launching or where you want to go. So don't let it be the end. So great tips, great advice for someone that wanted to dive into maybe being an entrepreneur at some level. I think that's great advice. I'm curious. So you've jumped into being you have your own business. I mean, you're still working with team members, I imagine, either through email or client work or something like that. Have you noticed a change at all in terms of like, I am my solo guy. Who can you lean on if you have a question? Do you still have a team in place to help you? I guess what's your approach to that, working solo now versus before you had these team of people that you could ask questions with and kind of sit around a water cooler, I guess. So has there been any much change there for you?
Yeah, surprisingly not. I mean, all the people that I was close to, that I would talk to and ask questions, I still have a really good relationship with all of them. So if I ever have a question, I can just call my friends at the old company, or I could even, talk to my principal back there or the technical lead I was sitting next to, ask them questions, and sometimes they'll ask me questions. So really, structural engineers, I feel like
Help
we kind
each
of,
other.
yeah, we help each other out. We can easily communicate with each other. We understand where we're coming from because we have very similar experiences. So I found that I get along really well with structural engineers, and I do have a large network of structural engineers that I could reach out to ask questions for, which is really nice. And funny enough, I actually get a lot of work from structural engineers. They will refer me jobs, which is really weird, but and part of my focus is I'm specialized in aluminum design, other steel shop drawing designs. So a lot of these structural engineers, they focus on the building, the skeleton of the structure, and they don't really want to work on the smaller, bitter design elements, the balconies, the guardrails, the stairs, and stuff like that. So they'll just refer that work out to me, and they like working with me. So it's been a good source of work for me as other structural engineers. So it's,
That's
network.
awesome.
It doesn't need to just be a network of clients, and having a network of structural engineers or peers will also help the business.
That's so cool. Well, I don't want to go into too much detail in this, but what are the benefits for an engineer to start their own business versus, say, sticking with a career path that leads them maybe up to management or something like that? What was the big draw for you? What's the biggest benefits there, whether it's monetary or otherwise?
Yeah, so the biggest is, like you said, monetary. You make a lot more money as self-employed or owning your own business. So, that's a huge benefit, and probably the primary reason that I went off on my own. Just really wanted to have high income. But other than that, there are other benefits such as lifestyle. I don't have a boss that tells me when to work or how hard to work, or changes my schedule. I have control over what projects I work on, when I work on it, and I can give better service to my clients. And back when I had a job at the company, I still had the same clients, but I also had a manager who was feeding me work. He was trying to get me to do his work as much as possible. And he would even tell me like, oh, your other clients, like they're not as important. Push them to the back burner, delay their jobs so you can work on my project. And it was really stressful for me because I wanted to give my clients really good attention. So when going off on my own was a huge benefit to my clients, actually, because I was more available to them and they were able to give me more work. So having that control over my schedule, being able to do a better job for my clients was a big benefit. I also really like having the ability to like get a nice laptop and get some really useful software and just get myself the tools that I need to be successful at the job without having to ask for it. I would always ask for things and I would just constantly get rejected. Like for organizing my tasks, I wanted to use this software and I asked for the company to pay for it. And they said no. They said, no, we give you these paper notebooks that you can write down your to-do list on. And it's like, I just don't want to use a paper notebook. I mean, it's nice for some things, but software is just so easy to manage all these tasks, So things like that. I wanted to have the right tools. And then, there's the other side of it of lifestyle. It's nice working from home, or, I could get a rental house and work, in a vacation rental for a month if I wanted to, or in another country if I wanted to. I'm very flexible with location, which is nice. I don't have to be in an office. So I like that lifestyle. And I'm able to, my wife doesn't have to work, which is nice because I make enough to support both of us. So, and she does my website, my logo. So she helps on the marketing side, or she'll run errands, like go pick up checks or something like that. So it's really nice working with my wife and having that lifestyle. So it's a really good lifestyle. And just my day to day is much more enjoyable having my own company versus working at a business.
It's awesome. Well, it sounds like you've already touched upon this already in that answer, but are you finding it's a struggle at all to find a balance between running your business and your family life, or is it kind of all just merged together now because your wife's helping, or is it like, hey, I gotta stop working because I'm just gonna take this with me all over the place?
No, it's not hard for me to find a balance, and a few things have helped. Recently, actually, I've been using a calendar. It's stupid. I've never really used a calendar before, but now I have every 15 minutes scheduled in my calendar, and every Friday I fill out my calendar for the following week, and then every Monday I review it, update it. And then on Wednesdays, I kind of make a midweek adjustment. So having everything calendared means I'm getting everything I need done before 5:30 p.m. So that gives me my free evenings, which is nice, and frees up my weekends as well. I mean, sometimes I'll work late, depends on what's happening. Like I'm going on vacation in a month, so I'll probably really ramp up for the next 2 weeks and maybe work 60 hours a week for a little while just to get ahead. But I haven't been hit too much with the family struggles. So my wife's actually pregnant right now, and
Oh,
yeah,
oh yeah, you gotta wait till you have it thrown in there, man.
yeah, we'll see how that goes. With I'm gonna have to help out with the baby, and so I'll let you know.
Oh, I have 4 kids, and we lose our minds sometimes, but you make it work. So
And do you have any
that's
tips
awesome.
for me on how to run a business with family nearby?
Oh man, uh, you have your mother-in-law close by?
No, unfortunately not.
You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. Promise.
Okay.
Oh man. Well, this is awesome. So, I feel like you mentioned earlier that there's so many engineers that maybe cut themselves short. Um, and you talked about the benefits of really starting your own business and maybe having that as a goal. It does sound like it maybe takes a certain personality to do that. Some people do find comfort in sticking with a company, knowing maybe there's more security there of some sort. Have you ever worried about client work at all? You're worried that, oh man, I got to go find more clients to get more business. But it sounds like right now things are great for you.
Things are going good. Because I knew I wanted to start my business one day. I mean, from day one at my company, or at the company I used to work at, I was looking for clients, and that was a really important thing for me. So I would constantly, look for opportunities, and I ended up having a bit of a niche. So I'm a aluminum design expert, and it makes it easier for me to find work because there's not a lot of aluminum people out there. I mean, there are some, but not nearly enough. And there's actually a lot of aluminum work to be done. So I picked up one client that way doing the aluminum stuff. Once I became the expert, then everybody in the office knew I was an aluminum expert. So they kind of would keep feeding me the aluminum clients because it's its own code. So it would just kind of flow in, and now I got referred from those clients, did a good job for them. So they've referred me out to their steel counterparts, and yeah, I just have a big book of work right now. And when I started my own company, I didn't realize, but all of my clients were sort of diversified. They had a bunch of different engineers, and they would parse out work based on availability. And so once I became available, they sort of made me their main guy. And I didn't realize, but they could give me 2 or 3 times as much work as they were previously. So they just turned on the fire hose and they're like, all right, everything goes to Scott, So
Well done.
luckily, yeah, it's pretty crazy. So yeah, I have a lot of work right now, and it's a blessing. I'm
Well, it
grateful.
leads to me another question, and we talked about maybe this earlier, but would you ever want to grow, or do you like staying solo? What's the pluses and minuses to that?
Yeah, it's tempting to want to grow, because I feel like it would be cool one day to train some younger engineers and pass it on. I feel like that would be a big impact. But I mean, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I also feel like it could be a mistake to grow. I've known some companies that maybe the structural engineer worked for himself for a while, did great, then scaled up to 5 people, and then one of those people underneath him made a mistake and they got sued for it, lost their insurance, everybody got fired, and this guy has to go work, find a job somewhere else. So that happened.
Mhm.
Um, and it's a risk, growing introduces a lot of risk into the situation. And, between the additional risk and also I would have to be accountable to my employees if I hired them. That's kind of annoying to me. Like, I wouldn't want to have to be available to anybody else, at a specific time to review work or whatnot. So I'm hesitant to grow. I don't really want to. I know some people who have, and they're very successful, but they're incredibly busy and they have to go into an office, and I mean, I guess they're making good money and they have equity in the company they're building, but it's not really a different lifestyle at all. I mean, I could have just stayed at
Yeah.
a company and worked my way to the top, and I would have had that lifestyle maybe with not as much money. So yeah, I'm not really that interested in it. I really like the lifestyle I have now, so I'm just gonna
Cool.
try and keep it going.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, Scott, this has been very fun for me to hear your thoughts about business and the differences between working for a company and starting your own firm, getting your PE and SC under your belt. I think that's awesome. Um, I think, if our audience had a question for you, what's the best way to reach out to you if they wanted to get in contact?
Yeah, so you can look me up on LinkedIn. So Scott Wible on LinkedIn, or you could email me at info@wibleengineering.com, WIBLE engineering.com.
Sweet. Okay, Scott, thank you for doing this with me. I really do appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy, so I'll let you get back to what you need to do.
Thank you so much for having me on. Awesome.
All right. See ya.
See ya. Bye.